There are things that I miss about the US, about living in America. Welcome back, guys. This week we're doing a little bit of a heavier topic where I'm going to be discussing kind of the emotional reality of homesickness and stuff I miss about the US, America, after almost living in Germany, living abroad for about 2 years now, which I still can't even believe it's been almost 2 years since we moved here. But I feel like this topic isn't talked about enough when people leave home, especially when people move to new countries, is more of the negative side of it, and being able to acknowledge that even though you move to a new country for whatever reason that is, whether that be personal reasons, professional reasons, what have you, that it's okay to still miss home and miss things about your home country. I mean, I've talked about this a little bit on my channel, but not a lot. And I also just want to preface this video by saying that me living in Germany is temporary, so I have a little bit of a unique experience. And the reason I am in Germany in the first place is because of my husband's job. His job moved us here. So my abroad experience living in a new country is also unique in that perspective, that I will acknowledge that there are some loops and hurdles that I haven't had to go through because of my husband's job. So it was, in a sense, easier for us to live here compared to someone just moving to a new country. That's going to be a completely different experience from what I experienced. So I just want to preface that. But to get back into what this video is actually about is homesickness. And I know every country has its flaws and there are things that I'm not going to get into, but there are things that I miss about the US, about living in America. So let's talk about it. Grab your coffee, grab your tea, sit on the couch, wherever you're watching this from, and let's dive in. So my number one, this is kind of what made me want to create this video in the first place and talk about this, is I'm sure anyone who's moved to a new country or again just left home is missing your friends and family. It doesn't matter how many times I talk about this topic, it always makes me emotional. But that is definitely my number one thing for homesickness is friends and family. And a negative side to living far away from home or just not living close to family is you're gonna miss out on a lot, especially if you can't afford to go home every single time. Like me living in Germany, to go back to the US, that's like $1,000, $2,000 minimum. And I'm not in a position to afford that every single time something happens back home. But for instance, like one of my brothers is graduating high school in a few weeks and I'm missing that. I was not expecting to get this emotional. My other brother is about to have his second baby and I'm gonna miss the birth of him and missing the baby showers and missing, you know, my sister-in-law go through her second pregnancy. I'm missing all of that. I'm missing my friends' birthday parties. I'm missing my brother's birthdays. My other brother just got engaged. I have 4 brothers, and that's not counting my in-laws. So I come from a big family. I guess I didn't realize until I moved so far away. Also, a little preface, I have moved a lot growing up and I'm used to living away from home. But I guess the difference is now is that I'm not like a 2-hour plane ride or a 2-hour car ride away from home anymore. Like I'm 4,500 miles away from home. But I didn't realize until I moved here how close I was to my family. I really took advantage of that when I was back home and I didn't appreciate it as much. But now living here and I'm missing a lot of stuff back home. Missing major life events of people I love and cherish. Guys, I was not expecting to get emotional. Way to pop off on number one for homesickness. But this is just physical evidence of what it's like to feel homesick. But yeah, that is a reality that anyone who leaves home has to face. I just was kind of naive about moving here where I didn't realize how much it was going to. Oh my goodness. I didn't realize how much it was going to impact me. Not being able to go home for holidays, not being able to, trying to keep it together, not being able to just drive over to my grandma's house on a Sunday just cause. Or if there's an emergency, I could just get in my car and go and be there and be present. But anyways, we are moving on to lighter topics. We are moving on to a new topic because I don't think I can take this topic anymore. We're moving on. Another thing I miss about living in the US is I felt more independent. When I lived in the US, I considered myself a pretty independent person. I was used to being alone. Like my husband, he's in the military, so he was deployed for 9 months. He's gone on TDYs for like 2 months. I'm used to being alone. I'm used to moving a lot. I'm used to doing things by myself. And since moving here, that hasn't been the case. Like back home in the US, I wouldn't put any thought into it. I'd get in my car. I'd take myself on a solo date. I'd take myself shopping. I'd go on a road trip by myself. And since moving here, I've become very dependent, and I don't necessarily like that. And that is more of a me thing. That's not something that's happened because I live in Germany. That's something that's happened because of my circumstances and more so like my personality trait. I am more of a shy, reserved person. And if I'm not familiar with a situation, aka I'm not super familiar with Germany, German customs, etc. Like I'm getting there and I've learned along the way, but it has made me more dependent, and it has made me to where I don't really like to go do things by myself. I don't like to just get in my car and go or take myself on solo dates. And so I miss that part of myself when I lived in the US. And I'm slowly trying to get that back. Like I've started going to grocery stores by myself. I've started going to fitness classes by myself. Like I'm slowly getting there. But I don't think I'll be at that level of independence that I was at when I lived in the US, and I really miss that. Another thing that I miss about living in the US, coffee shop culture. This might be a little controversial, but I love the coffee shop culture back in America. The only thing I would change is like European cafe culture. I wish that the US in general had more of the like outdoor seating facing the street so you can people watch, sit there for a couple hours. That is the only thing I would change about the coffee shop culture in the US. I don't really know how to describe it, but all the local little cutesy coffee shops back home, I miss those so badly, where you could have all these fun iced coffees and these fun little pastries or omelets or whatever. And I know there's places like that here. Just from my personal experience, it's been a bit harder to find that same vibe. So that is something that I really miss. Another thing that makes me miss home a lot is I grew up pretty much on the coast. So mind you, I've lived in a few states, but the main state I grew up in and have lived the most time in is Georgia. And specifically, I grew up on the coast of Georgia. So my norm, again, kind of with my solo dates and everything, I would go to the beach. And now, I don't know how far the closest beach is, but I do miss just being able to go to the beach for a couple hours or what have you. But yeah, that's another thing that I really miss about home and has kind of contributed to my homesickness, is that I'm very used to living within 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 10 minutes of a beach, and I don't have that now. I think there's a lake or river or something close by, but it's not the same. I don't know. Anyways, this is kind of what I've talked about a little bit in this video so far, but another thing that I miss about living in the US is I've lived there my whole life, so I know what the culture norms are. I know what the tipping norms are, you know, social cues, what have you. And I think this also contributes to why I haven't been as independent here, is I get stressed out and I get anxiety about not fully knowing social cues, cultural norms, tipping culture. Like I have Googled and asked 1,000 times about what type of tips are expected here with what services, and I know the US is notorious for tipping culture. I will be the first to admit, even as someone who has been a waitress, who has worked in the service industry, Tipping culture in the US is definitely a problem, in my opinion. I think it's gone too far, but that is what I'm used to, and so I know what to tip. I know what's rude or what's like, oh wow, amazing, but I don't necessarily know that here, and I'm always stressed that I'm offending someone or doing something that people are like, what the heck? Like, what the hell? And I miss just knowing stuff when I lived in the US. Again, I am learning, but it's a learning process, and it's not something that just comes to me naturally. So that is something I miss about living in America, is I know American culture norms. I don't necessarily know German culture norms. This kind of goes with my independence, and this is something that I didn't really think about again when moving here. I'm just gonna say, moving here, I was very naive about the whole thing. I was just like, oh my God, we're moving abroad. We're living in Germany. I've always wanted to live abroad. I've always wanted to experience that. I really moved here with rose-colored glasses, and I thought it was gonna be just this amazing rainbow experience, which it is. This is an amazing experience, and I am so glad that we are doing this. Like, I want to say that even though I'm talking about things I miss about living in America, how homesick I am, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else right now, because this is an extraordinary experience. This is a unique experience. I'm getting to travel more than anything, all of that. So I just want to say that, like, I don't hate living here, but I can acknowledge that I miss living in the US as well. But anyways, getting back on topic. For me personally, just because of content creation, and before I moved here, I was working more in the fashion industry and stuff like that. I had more job opportunities back in the US, and that is something I didn't really think about when we moved here, is my job opportunities are a lot more limited, to where I basically can only really get a job like on base because I don't speak German. I mean, I know just a little bit, but I couldn't go work at a German coffee shop because I wouldn't know what most people were saying, and that's on me. I'll acknowledge that. There's just been a few opportunities that I have missed since living here that I didn't realize I was going to miss out on, specifically with my job as a content creator, freelancer, and working a little bit in the fashion industry as well. Another thing is, obviously there are some American holidays that I miss, like Memorial Day weekend or 4th of July or what have you. There's just certain things in the US when it comes to holidays, being with family, kind of goes with my number one that I miss about living in the US. Anyways, I feel like I could talk about this topic forever, but I'm not trying to keep y'all here all day. And living abroad is a dream. It was a dream for me, and I am so fortunate and I'm so grateful to be experienced this. But there is sort of a silent struggle also to living abroad. And there are certain comforts about living back home that I definitely took for granted. And it's things that I'm craving right now, or I really miss right now. And there is quite a bit of things about American life that I didn't realize I was going to miss now that I live abroad, that I live in Germany. But anyways, if you're living abroad or you left home, I hope you found some comfort in this video, that you're not alone if you're also feeling homesick, or if you're thinking about moving abroad. These are some things to consider. If you have any questions, definitely let me know in the comments, or a video you want me to do, anything like that, definitely let me know, because I'm always looking for new video ideas or answering questions for you guys. But I'm really excited about this week. I've mentioned it a few times, but we are going to Portugal this weekend, and I cannot wait. I have never been to Portugal, so we're actually going to the Azores, which I know isn't necessarily in Portugal, but Portugal owns it or something. I don't know, but we're going to the Azores, and we're going hiking, we're going whale watching, we're going to see like the tea area and the pineapple, and I cannot wait. Again, these are my favorite kind of trips, so I will be vlogging that, and definitely be on the lookout for that, because I will be posting that next week. And after that, we are going to Italy. We're doing a lot of travel this month because for the next few months afterwards, we're not going to really be able to travel a lot because we have family coming into town, which will be the first time any of our friends or family have come to visit us. So I'm really looking forward to that. And Josh is starting a new job this month. So with him transitioning into that, he's going to be really busy and we just won't have a lot of leave or time to go travel. So we're trying to get in as much as we can right now because for the next few months, we're probably only going to be doing day trips or something like that. But again, this is a perk of living in Europe and living abroad, is that you can casually travel to new countries every other week. And it is amazing. I would not be able to travel like this if I still lived in the US. So let me get off my tangent. Let me get out of my emo-ness. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday. But I love you guys and I'll see you next Sunday. Bye.